Today we're talking about apps and productivity with Liza Wisner. Have you ever thought about the best ways to manage your time and tasks? Find out more on this inaugural episode of Women Connected.
This is the Women Connected podcast, where we believe that women can improve their personal and professional lives through technology. If you're ready to cut through the noise and learn exactly the tools you need to create your professional brand, be recognized, and keep up in today's fast-paced world, then stay tuned.
Welcome to the Women Connected podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Goodgame, Program Director at TBW, where we believe that women can improve their personal and professional lives through technology. Today I'm excited to welcome Liza Wisner to the show. Liza has an amazing background. Born in Kenya, Liza came to the U.S. on a golf scholarship representing Texas A&M University Corpus Christi's women's golf team. She had previously won the Kenya National Championship title, and she represented Kenya at regional and international championships. Today, Liza is a social entrepreneur, an avid golfer, and a passionate children's technology education advocate. No stranger to technology and its power to transform lives, Liza founded the internationally recognized organizations Texas Techies and Power Up to deliver science, technology, engineering, and mathematics education to at-risk students. When she isn't engaged in these important community-building activities, Liza is a business performance advisor with Insperity. You may also recognize her from her performance on The Apprentice in 2010. Liza, welcome to the Women Connected podcast.
Thank you so much, Lisa. Wow, that was a great introduction.
Well, we're glad to have you.
Thank you.
So, your background in technology is very interesting, and clearly it's important to your social action mission. How did you identify science, technology, engineering, mathematics as key issues for at-risk students?
That's such a great question. Thank you so much for having me on the show because, part of the reason why I'm interested in technology is because I grew up around it. And after being a mother for the first time and trying to help my children learn and trying to help them grow in this environment that we live in, I realized the power of technology in filling in those gaps or those spaces that I didn't feel like I was an expert in. And because of my love for my children, I was thrilled and excited to start what I started. So, I started my Texas Techies organization, and I felt it was so important because, technology is one of those things that I think it's the great equalizer. It gives everybody the opportunity to learn something and tell their story their way, whether it's a business, whether it's their personal life. We don't have a choice. We have to use technology. The question is, what will we do with it? And so my goal is providing opportunities where people understand how they're going to use technology as a tool. And then secondly, being able to accelerate and explore, more technology as early as possible. That way they're capitalizing on the newness of it.
That's great. It is absolutely something that we just can't get away from, whether we want to or not. It's part of our lives.
It is.
So in thinking about how you have incorporated technology in your daily life, in your professional life, could you describe a challenge for our listeners that you've had, particularly in your professional life, and how technology has helped you to solve it?
Okay, many challenges. I guess life is really just about challenges and how you walk through them. And as it relates to technology, I feel for me, technology has always been that go-to thing, that go-to aspect of our lives that has helped me grow. I think technology for me, at least, when we think about specific things, I just want to mention the growth of technology. And one specific thing that stands out in my head is keeping track of all the different tasks that I have going on. When you read my bio, it just sounds like, oh my God, she has so much going on. How is she being able to do all these different things? And I'm doing it because I have technology, backing me up. I feel like technology is my backup. So for example, let's just talk about note taking at when you go to a meeting or whatever it is. Before technology, before I discovered my iPad and was able to have one, I used to have all these different notebooks, and I would write all my notes in all these different places, or I would try to carry my netbook with me everywhere I went and try to take notes that way. And the beauty of technology nowadays is you can sync pretty much everything you do with everywhere you're going to be. And when you think about, we're talking about Texas businesswomen, we're talking about women trying to take their lives to the next level. It's really important to be able to be organized and be able to find things when you need them, not forget things, not go, oh my God, where's that notepad? Where did I leave that, business card or whatever it was? Technology helps you become more organized, helps you be more focused, and that way you're able to get more done.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you have a particular app that you really like for note-taking?
Yeah, that's a great question. Yeah, I do. I use Evernote exclusively. Evernote it's really my saving grace. I feel like a magician when I'm using it because my Evernote actually talks to so many other apps anyway. Anything I do in Evernote, whether I tag something or if I create a note on it or a particular task, if I create a task, something happens somewhere. Whether it's a trigger on my Trello or whatever it is, something happens to help me manage my life. I've gone through a lot of different note-taking apps. There's a lot out there, right? So you start off with the iPad, right? If you have an iPad, you start off with the basic, notepad app. And then, you graduate to all the others that everyone tells you about. I mean, I even downloaded and paid for things like Penultimate, Smart Notebook. There's all these other ones out there. And I've just come back to Evernote because it just works great for me.
Yeah, it seems productivity tools like that are really invaluable for everyone, whether they're using them in a personal capacity or in a professional capacity. Do you find that you're using it for both?
Yes. Well, it's funny you should say that because part of my life is, thinking about how I can, capitalize on the time I have. We all get so much time in our day and you can't necessarily say, there's that saying, don't mix your personal life with your business life. And for me, I can't do that because my personal life is my business life. My business life is my personal life. My family is affected by the business decisions I make. And so I'm fortunate to live in a household. I guess my family, my husband is just so tech driven, just like I am. So we actually use the technologies that I use in our personal lives. So when I have a task that's a family task, it shows up on Trello. It shows up on our Google Calendar, the family Google Calendar. We have so many different ways that we're able to streamline our lives, our activities around our around our professional lives. And I think that, technology allows you to do that. It allows you to be able to have personal assistants running around in the background, but it's a tool. It's a technology tool that's helping you be more organized.
Can you talk a little bit about Trello and how that functions for you?
Okay. The beauty of Trello, for me, Trello it's almost like imagine if you had many bulletin boards all over, right? But these are virtual bulletin boards, and you're able to literally have a sticky for every task you have to complete. And in those stickies, you're able to write checklists in there of what you have to do, what projects you have to do. You're also able to assign those different stickies to other people. So imagine being able to do that, but in a virtual environment. And imagine being able to have an unlimited amount of whiteboards all over you. And so anything that you're working on, any projects you're working on, they would just show up on your Trello board depending on what you do. So like, for example, for me, I have many different ways that I use my Trello board. I have it where if I'm working on a project, like for example, I think the basic example I like to show people is, your email. You might use email as your to-do list. A lot of people do that. They have their emails in there, and if somebody sent them an email, something they need to work on, they leave it in there until they finish that, right? And for me, I feel like that's counterproductive because you're always going back to your email. You're always going back to your email. You're not really accomplishing anything if you're doing that. And so what I do is I actually forward every email that has a task assigned to it, something I have to complete. I just forward it to Trello. It shows up on Trello as a card, and then I move that card accordingly. Is it a 5-minute task, a 20-minute task, a 40-minute task, whatever it is? It goes into those different gaps, and that way when I'm aligning my day in the morning, I can see, where are my priorities, how much time do I have in between meetings, what needs to be done. And I call myself a magician because of it, because I'm able to literally whiz through my email. I mean, I also use an app called Boomerang. I mean, that one's just fantastic, but I'll tell you about that one later. But, I think for Trello for me is that whiteboard wherever I want it. If it's on my iPad, if it's on my phone, if it's on my computer, it's right there with me all the time. I don't have to think, oh, I wish I was at work right now. with my whiteboards. No, it's there with me all the time.
It's amazing how all of these productivity apps really just have turned into a digital format, the analog systems that we have been used to using for our entire lives, isn't it?
You know what? It's so funny because I think the core of being organized, the core of being productive, and the core of getting things done is understanding the systems. You might get all these tools. You may be able to download Trello and get an iPad or whatever it is. But if you don't really understand the core of why you're doing that, it's not going to help, right? So if I don't understand the beauty of knowing that I don't have to go into my email to get my work done, if you don't understand that, then you're not going to be able to use the tools you're going to feel like you have all these. It's almost like having that tool belt and you have way too many of tools in there and you're going, which one do I use? I have like 10 hammers in here. Which one's going to get the job done? And, understanding, first of all, how to be organized, understanding how to use a calendar. How do you, sync a Google Calendar with everything? Why is that important? Why is it important to organize your life? Why is it important to have productivity tools? If you don't understand that, then you're quickly going to turn your need for technology into a mess, right? You'll be hunting down things, forgetting which app it is that you wrote that note in and where did it go and what, and then you go back to paper and then, you're back to where you started. So I think just, first of all, building good habits, being able to know what you want to do and how you want to do it is first key before you actually jump into understanding which technologies you want to use.
I think that's such a good point. One of the things that I think we find ourselves doing sometimes as we're looking for new apps or new tools to solve a problem is we see something online or we see it mentioned in a tweet where people say, oh, this is the best travel organizer app I've ever used. You should give it a try. And if it's free, great. But if it's $1.99 or $2.99, all of a sudden you're sort of pausing and thinking, is that the one that's really going to work for me? And I found myself doing that this summer. We had a lot of travel, and I tried TripIt and a number of others. And it takes a lot of investigation sometimes to find just the right app to meet your need.
Right. It does. And, I think at least for me, right, I've always been one of these people who I'm not afraid to try something. If you tell me that this is going to do this, well, I'm ready to try it out and see what happens. And sometimes the developers of the apps or developers of the technology, they're also trying something new. They're also trying to make it work. So it might not work for the situation you want, but you're not going to know what's going to work if you're not trying, right? So I'm sure now you found the best travel app, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so, the value of that is you can tell a story to people, and tell them, look, I was trying to figure out a travel app. I went through all these and this is the one that worked for me. I think, part of what I think this podcast that you've put together is fantastic because it'll help people kind of see through all that noise, right? Because right now I am so curious to know which app you decided to use because I haven't delved into trying to find the best travel app. So I think, the beauty of it is just being able to jump in there, and try all these different things.
Exactly. Well, I will say the one that I did settle on was TripIt. And I think there is a small charge for it, but it sounds like it works a lot like Trello where you just forward emails to the TripIt address and it will add them to your itinerary. But it's also smart. And once you've connected your email address, it searches your email periodically. And when it finds new travel related information, it will automatically add them to your itinerary. So that's a really cool feature, I think.
That is cool. I use TripCase. So yours just sounds way cooler. So
I think it's kind of a new one. So it's definitely worth checking out. So when thinking about technology, do you consider yourself an early adopter, or are you more likely to take a wait-and-see approach before trying something new?
I am for sure an early adopter. Seriously an early adopter. I'm one of those people that, I hear about it. I'm subscribed to all these things, right? New app, whatever it is. I love Vodeo. I don't know if you've heard of Vodeo. It's this app that lets you watch videos online, kind of pulls in from all the different feeds. And I love it because it actually has a channel on there that's just tech. And I am an early adopter for sure. I'll go out there and I'll download all these apps. If you look at my iPad, you'll think that, oh my God, I think she's got every single app in the App Store. I do. And of course I have different, categories for the ones that I'm using all the time. But I think in many situations, I have seen myself and quite frankly, the people I surround myself with as early adopters. And that helps a lot. I see us as trendsetters because sometimes I'll tell people about something and they won't want it, or they won't be using it. And then then a year or two later, everybody's like, oh, I love this app and I'm doing this and I'm doing that. And it's the beauty of being able to embrace that technology early for me that gives me that rush, like, oh, I was there before they got big, There's an app, there's a website that I love. And right now I'm just so blessed because I have introductory pricing with them and they charge quite a bit now because I was one of the people who actually adopted their system first. I was one of the ones who helped them kind of, go through that beta stage, when they went through all the mess with me, but I knew from when I started using it that, oh my God, these guys are awesome. Whoever these developers are, they're in my head and they're doing everything that my head wants them to do, and they've built this platform that actually they got bought out by SurveyMonkey. I mean, they grew a company, right? And there were just some guys developing a software. And right now I have introductory pricing. I have pricing that, they charge way more than I'm getting. And that's the beauty of being an early adopter. You get in on almost all the cool stuff early and, you get to find out about it before the general public does. It's really good being there from the very beginning. It's really kind of cool.
Well, yeah, it sounds like it. So there was another tool that you had mentioned that you really like called Boomerang. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Oh my gosh. Okay. Boomerang is so fantastic. It syncs to pretty much every email system you might have. So like, for example, I use Gmail and I also use Outlook. So my Boomerang will help me, like if I'm reading an email and I feel like, okay, I don't actually need to be doing anything on this email until maybe 3 hours from now, or I am wanting this email to be sent out a week from now. I want this person to get this reminder. Boomerang allows you to do that. So for example, if I'm going through my emails real fast and I know I'm not going to do any action on those, or they don't necessarily need to go to Trello. So I'll literally boomerang them and then they won't come back to me until I tell them to. So my email inbox is always 0 email inbox. So I love it because it allows me to just literally say, okay, send me this email 2 hours from now. Or I hit send. Instead of hitting send, I hit send later with the Boomerang. And if it's I work late at night, right? So I'm working really late. So it's sometimes at midnight, or sometimes I wake up early and it's like 3 o'clock in the morning when I'm working. I don't necessarily want my clients and the people I work with seeing that, oh my gosh, she sent emails at 3 o'clock in the morning. It's not that it's a bad thing, but it's actually more effective if they get the emails when they get to work, right? They're going to read them as soon as they get there. And I can boomerang my emails and I can boomerang my activities that I'm doing to actually get sent when I want them to. And I think it's free until, you get 10 boomerangs for free and then you have to pay for it. And it's a real nominal fee. But, it's just the beauty of being able to whiz through your email. I think the bottom line is, sometimes I feel like I've conquered email, and that's like the biggest deal sometimes. You might get 100 emails. You were talking about traveling. I'm sure when you came back, you probably had a whole slew of them to go through. And sometimes with Boomerang, you're able to just, think of a boomerang, right? In Australia, you just throw it and it comes back. It's the same concept, it's the exact same concept.
That sounds like an amazing tool. And I think that's something that we'll definitely look at for the future with TBW as something to use for a tech tip for our audience, because that sounds like a really great resource. As we start to wrap up here, do you have any key advice for women who are nervous about adopting something new?
When you think about women, right, we like to talk about stuff, right? I like to share like, oh my God, that was so cool. My husband knows that, because if I find something, oh no, he's going to hear about it and he better go try it out too, right? And I think the beauty of that is helping women to understand that, right now, the space of technology, the space of being tech is really kind of cool, especially if you're a woman. I grew up as being, the only girl in the classroom who was in a computer science class, or one of two, that when I graduated with my computer science degree, literally there was 2 girls in my class, out of 40. And you have to think about the fact that that might be a reason why, maybe some women feel like, oh, no, I'm just going to keep going in the normal pace. But it's important to realize that, my nonprofit organization is really focused on, providing that science, technology, engineering, math for children. But my main focus is really girls and supporting women, because I feel like that is part of, nation building. Part of nation building is helping people embrace change. And technology is one of those things that has brought change. And if you're able to embrace technology, if you're able to take that leap and try something new, that actually speaks highly about your general outlook in life in general. You're going to be able to take risks. You're going to be able to, jump jump and take that new business idea. Adopting how somebody adopts technology for me is a true measurement of how they're able to take on challenges in their lives. If a technology comes on and you feel like, oh no, I don't want to be a part of that, or oh no, my business is doing just fine, we don't need that automated system, that is for me a message that you're not willing to take your business to the next level. You're not ready to learn about these new things that can help you make more money, affect your bottom line in your business or in your personal life. So, I would just say to women, if you want to get ahead, technology is not going anywhere. You don't have a choice. You have to use it. And because I feel like it's a great equalizer, why not have that competitive advantage that you're looking for by being the one who adopts the technology before anybody else?
I think that is just fantastic advice. We hear so much about the gender gap in technology.
Yes.
And it seems like it really is the way that women can become greater producers, more effective in the workplace, more effective with their families, adopting technologies that really can make a difference for themselves.
Yes, I'm glad you brought up the gender gap because, for me, I feel like it's a mindset. I don't think that it has anything to do with men, women, or I think it's just, thinking through things through and understanding how being high tech can help you take yourself to the next level. But, I also believe that, in reality, we may be talking right now and someone might be listening going, well, that's not true. I know a lot of women who use technology and that's not fair to, put all women in one category. But, when you do the research and you see the numbers of the adopters of technology and especially when you think about, nations where there's not that, it's not equal, women and men, especially in the rest of the world where, you might imagine that a woman is not as able to maybe run a business, without having, for example, her husband, her husband has to come along. If she's going to run a business, she can't just have a business on her own. We have to understand that it's a big deal. And so if we're able to put that focus on it, where women use technology, use it to take yourself to the next level, they talk about, women don't make as much money as men, in the corporate world. And part of that has to do with its reality. We may not like to hear it, but that's the reality. So, when we talk about the gender gap, I love those topics because it's all about just helping people understand what the reality is versus what their perceived reality is. You may think that because you're using it, that other people are using it, and that's just not the truth. We have to be able to spread that message and let people know that we have to build that equality for women across the board.
I think that's such a good point. From where we sit here in the United States, where really most people have access to technology.
Yes.
They may not always have a smartphone or have a notebook computer on their desk, but through schools, through libraries, through programs, and of course through personal technology, we really are sitting in such a lucky position. And I think that your point about women across the globe not necessarily having those same abilities to access technology is really a fundamental thing for us to think about.
Yeah. And, technology, sometimes when I speak, I like to say that, technology gives new meaning to what, we say girl power, girls are powerful. And I say technology gives new meaning to that because, it's commonly believed that men, are the ones who are tech, it's computers, men are going to do that, And I think think about Pinterest. Okay. Who do you think uses Pinterest the most?
Exactly.
Yeah, it's just ballooned, right? It's just grown. And I think the power of Pinterest has to do with women telling stories, sharing ideas. That's the beauty of technology. That's why technology has grown the way it has because, we're just wired that way. We're wired to be community, and we engage with our community, we engage with our families, we engage with each other, more. And I feel like that's the reason why some of those, websites and some of the corporations that, that are out there that are run by women, they're able to stay like that because the way we're wired, the way we are, the experiences we've had.
Exactly. And technology in so many ways is really things that I think we don't necessarily think about as technology anymore. I mean, technology when we were growing up was an IBM mainframe computer in a giant room, right? And now it's 20 apps on your cell phone. And I think sometimes women don't necessarily think about that as technology that they're engaging with because it has just become such part and parcel of our everyday lives.
Right. It's completely surrounded us. I mean, you can't do anything nowadays without technology. It's almost ridiculous to say that you're not using technology.
Lisa, it's been so great to speak with you today. Is there anything else you'd like to share with our audience in order to help them really navigate our fast-paced world?
I think part of, understanding the fast-paced world is understanding, for me, children is important, and children are growing up as what they call digital natives, and they should, we should be able to embrace that part of them. And so for me, I feel like as a woman, as a businesswoman, it's important to embrace technology, not only to take your business to the next level, but your family as well. It's important for your family to see that you're embracing technology, and you never know what you might stumble across that will help you address those challenges and help take the next step in helping your business grow.
That's such great advice. Thanks again for joining me today. It's really been a pleasure to have you on the Women Connected podcast.
Thank you so much, Lisa. It's been a pleasure.
The Women Connected podcast was brought to you by TBW and the TBPW Foundation, underwriter of many of our training and leadership development programs. For more information about TBW membership and our upcoming events, please visit our website at tbwconnect.com. This podcast was produced with the assistance of Authority Engine. We hope you'll join us next time on Women Connected.